have another psycho ex-friend story to tell. And this one is actually insane. Before you comment, this is not real, or this is definitely not something that happened, believe me, unfortunately it is. This one extends throughout most of my childhood and into my teenage years. I am a first-generation child of immigrants. Both of my parents immigrated from Poland to the United States in the 1990s. I live in New York, and in New York, there's a couple of areas that have high Polish populations. I grew up on Long Island. So on Long Island, there's this one school, a Polish school, and these schools are all across the United States. But in New York, specifically on Long Island, there's I think 2 schools, and I went to one of them, and it's very common for children of immigrants to be enrolled in these schools, just like I was. My mom has an education and master's degrees in teaching, so she was a teacher at this Polish school that I went to for literally my whole life. Once you enroll in the school and you're in a class, that same class stays consistent year by year. I'm not sure if every Polish school is like this in the United States, but mine was structured to be held on Saturdays. So my Saturdays were always booked and busy with Polish school. I was in these classes and I was learning about my heritage, my parents' background, the history, how to learn and read in Polish. I am fluent in Polish, actually. I didn't really know English until I went to school. So my first language technically is Polish. I start school in first grade, and now I get to meet all of my classmates. And this girl, who the story is about, enters my life. Her name was pretty similar to mine. I'm not going to say what it was, but we're just going to call her Julie. Being an immigrant child, especially of a teacher, my mom really instilled it into my head to make sure that I was really good at Polish because it meant a lot to her for me to uphold the tradition. So I was really good in this class, and so was this other girl, Julie. We had a little friend group. Most of the girls usually sat next to each other. The guys would go sit with each other. So this girl was also standing out academically because she was also very strong at Polish and everything else we were learning. My Polish school and also other Polish schools in the area would hold competitions and contests, and sometimes there were scholarship awards, and sometimes there was other things like that that you can compete for and win. My mom would make sure that I was enrolled and I was doing every single one of these competitions, and so was Julie. Her parents were pretty much on that too. I'm not sure if this has anything to do with Julie's behavior, but she's an only child and I have a younger brother. I really do think that like only child syndrome is very much evident in children that are raised to be very much like the center of attention. Julie's parents literally raised her on the idea that she is the most important person in the world, and if anybody else stumbles to take you off of your pedestal, they need to be eliminated. These contests and little award ceremonies that the Polish schools were having was something that I was very familiar with, and I would usually win pretty big awards. Typically, me and Julie were neck and neck because both of us were really good at what we were doing, and our parents were both making sure that we were enrolled in almost every single competition. So then going from elementary school into middle school, some of these competitions became a little bit more serious, where you can get a lot of money for scholarships, and I was saving up for college, obviously, and so was Julie. Typically, I would write poems, and I would do the writing competitions, and Julie would typically go for the more artistic competitions. I think my absolute favorite one that I ever did was one where my poem was published in a book, a Polish book, and I actually have a copy of it at my hometown. I don't have it here with me, but my poem was published in a book because I won the contest. When something like this would happen and Julie either wasn't enrolled in that competition or she didn't like the attention that I was getting from the other teachers at the Polish school for my recognition, she would cause problems. Her mother and her would go around the entire Polish school, and the community is very small, so word travels around fast, and your reputation is very important to uphold. Julie's mother, and father, honestly, for that matter, would go around the Polish school telling everyone that I am not worthy of winning this because my mom's a teacher and I have an advantage over Julie. This still happened even if Julie wasn't enrolled in the exact same competition that I was. My mother had to defend me so many times among like the board of education, essentially, because this girl and her mother were going around saying that I am cheating, that I have an advantage because my mom's a teacher and I don't deserve to win these things because she's better than me, basically. This was honestly exhausting and happened a lot throughout my entire childhood and like going into middle school and then high school. There was a competition that I decided to take a part of because the reward was like really, really big. Let's say it was like $500. Julie also took part of this competition, and essentially the winner would get highly recognized among the entire Polish school. And we had these like really big events in our auditorium once in a while, and it would be a huge prestige to be recognized in something like this. So I took part of it, and instead of writing something, because this particular competition had a lot of artistry and a lot of artistic things that you could do. So what I did is I bought mannequin heads and I essentially recreated the old kings of Poland because that's like what the assignment was. Julie didn't do the mannequin heads that I did. She ended up doing something, I think it was like a poster board or something. But anyways, I ended up getting first place and she got second. And whenever she would get second, especially to me, it was the end of the world. When she got second place, she texted me on Snapchat saying that I have absolutely no right to take away her spotlight because she is known as the artistic one and I'm known as the writer. So I should stick to writing and I should get off her turf. This was just a common occurrence for Julie to say. So like when I would read these messages, I was just like, I actually do not care. There is nowhere in the rule book that it says that I'm not allowed to take part in something. I took part in it and I won. Sorry. This girl and her mother obviously were going around the entire Polish school, tarnishing my reputation, trying to drag down my mother as well. And my mom when you mess with that woman's reputation, trust me, she's gonna come after you. So every year in New York City, in October, there's a huge Polish Day parade. And it's a tradition among Polish schools to have a beauty pageant where you would be Miss Polonia. My junior year of high school, I competed and I won Miss Polonia. This was the coolest thing ever. I felt so stunning and just so proud to be Polish when I was marching in this parade. The day before I competed for Miss Polonia, Julie wasn't in my pageant. She ended up competing the next year. But for my year, she texted me the day before because I think she could sense that I was competing in the pageant. She texted me asking me if I was competing and I said yes, and she was kind of throwing a whole fit. She was like, oh, like you can't do this because they're gonna pick you anyways because you're the teacher's daughter. And I was like, that has nothing to do with that. The committee isn't even associated with the Polish school. So when I won and I was getting all this attention, this completely set Julie off into like what I call her villain arc. It was a tradition for buses to be sent to my Polish school, and a bunch of people from the school would go and bus over into the city and join this Polish Day parade. So when I was Miss Polonia, I was super excited. I got to like ride on this really cool, I think it was a Porsche, like a Mercedes. My dad rented it out. It was the coolest thing. I am so grateful for this experience. It was awesome. Except every single year we would go. I would go, Julie would go, her family would go. This year, suddenly Julie's not going when I'm Miss Polonia. The jealousy, like truly, I can 110% say that this girl was absolutely crazy jealous of me. And I'm not even saying that to sound cocky or conceited. This girl she just could not handle not being on top. But she randomly shows up in the city. I expected her to not be there because she didn't bus over with everyone when we all left the Polish school to get to the city for the parade. She randomly shows up. She's super cold to me. She barely takes a photo with me, but I can tell that there's some like tension there. Next year rolls around and now it's the next Miss Polonia competition and Julie is enrolled in it. She had tarnished my name so badly for the entire year that I was Miss Polonia that the committee had to sit down with her and tell her that if she does not stop crap talking me or my mother, they will take away her title. Newsflash, she actually ended up winning. She was so prepared for this competition. Like you could tell the entire year that I was Miss Polonia, she was preparing probably religiously in order to win so that she can take that throne on top. You know what I mean? Here's the craziest thing that she did. And me and my mom actually consulted with a lawyer and almost got an order of protection against her. Junior year of high school typically, so 11th grade essentially, that is the last year of the Polish school that you can be enrolled in. You take a huge exam, which is equivalent of a New York State Regents exam. So I got this Regents exam credit on my high school transcript. This exam is so difficult to prepare for. It literally took me months to memorize everything because it's such a huge test. Preparing for this exam was no joke. I was so stressed out because this was my junior year of high school. I was dealing with SATs on top of like my Polish school requirement, and I remember studying so hard for this exam. Exam day comes around. We are all lining up to be taken into the exam rooms because this was a verbal and physical exam. I was third in line. Julie was a couple people away, and you would go in the room in threes. And when I was entering the room, Julie cut the entire line just to be in the same room as I was, the same time that I was taking the test. She completely messed up the entire order just to make sure that she was in the room with me because she was so psychotically obsessed with getting a higher grade than me. At this point, I was completely used to her nonsense. She was trying to turn the other girls in my class against me, even though we were all pretty good friends. She was turning them against me, spreading a whole bunch of rumors about me. So this was just like another one of her things. What's important to note about this exam is that there was a really big written requirement that is taken outside of examination day. So this is like a really big essay that was written on a certain topic and you would submit to your teacher like aside from the exam day. There was speculation that Julie and her mother went into teachers' files, found my file, and took photos of my essay to make sure that hers was better than mine. This was obviously a huge breach of code of conduct, and there was a pretty big investigation, and I don't think that they found consistencies with her doing so, but she was ordered to apologize to me for her crazy behavior. We lived towns away from each other, and she would show up in my town at like the place that I worked with like girls that I was friends with from the Polish school that she was turning against me just to like torment me. When Julie was Miss Polonia and the whole committee like essentially was pretty upset that she won because she was not a good person and she was tarnishing the Polish school reputation because of how literally insane she was. They had to have multiple sit-down conversations with her and tell her to knock it off because my mother was literally seeking an order of protection, and that's what got her to finally stop. This girl was just my biggest op literally ever because she was constantly one-upping me, and if I was better than her, it's the end of the world. She's crap talking me, she's crap talking my mother. There was just such discrepancies between this girl and like my family. I have absolutely no idea what this girl is doing now with her life. Me and my mom laugh about her all the time because of how literally insane this whole situation is.
My ex-best friend of 14 years became my son's stepmother. Not saying any names. Y'all could piece it together. I don't really give a fuck. I'm just interested in telling the story. I could care less about it being exposed since it already kind of was exposed. So, yeah. I met this girl around 5th, 6th grade when I would visit my dad. He lived in the town that she lived in, and she lived right around the corner from him. We were super close. We played outside together all the time. We kind of grew up from playing outside to drinking our first drink, to smoking our first blunt, to having our first kiss, to going to our first club. You know, all the little child to adolescent, teenage milestones into adulthood. She was close with my family. I was cool with hers. It was very known that we were very close. Everybody knew it. It wasn't a secret. It wasn't like we were fair weather friends. We were extremely close. Even in school, like, she was fighting with somebody, I'm ready to fight with her. If somebody messing with her, I'm taking them down. We went through a lot of shit together, as far as like shit she went through with men, shit I went through with men, like, you know, just the whole shebang. Anything like lifelong best friends would go through. When she became 19, she became pregnant with twins, and she had 2 twins, boys, and it was beautiful, even though she was young and she was kind of ruining her life, because she claims that the child's father was immature, which I'm sure he was, and I'm sure what she was saying at the time was very accurate. And you know, I had her back. She got pregnant. She had to like leave college, and she was ready to raise her kids. Now, mind you, she still lived at home with mom. There was a small period of time where I don't think we fell apart necessarily. I think I was going through like a really horrible relationship, and she was trying, like, with my other friend, to help me. And I got through that, obviously, and we remained cool. We still remained friends. This was somebody who was going to be a bridesmaid in my wedding. When I had my first child, I went through a lot with my son's father, and she would be right there with me, coaching me on how to put him on child support, coaching me on how to handle him, because she was very well versed in that. She did have, I believe she had kids like shortly before me. I was pregnant. Sorry. I remember I was pregnant at her baby shower. So we were kind of pregnant at the same time, but she had them first. I had them after. So she was like talking mad shit about my baby daddy's family. I was showing her what I was going through. I wasn't just telling her, like, she was seeing with her own eyes that, like, you know, I was struggling. He was a non-provider. He was a cheater, a liar. His family was weird. You know, she was seeing this. It wasn't like she was just a fair weather friend on the internet and like just hearing. She was watching it in real time. She was helping me, you know, file things. She was sitting in, you know, my family's backyard all the time with her. Our kids would play together. My family would include her on family holidays, Christmas. My grandmother would buy her kids little gifts when it was like gatherings. Like, it was like that. We were so close. Like, she would call my grandma. She called my grandma because she was looking for an apartment. She was, you know what I'm saying? She had communication with my family outside of me. So with that all being said, you can tell that we were very close. Like, she knew that, you know, my baby daddy did me dirty. That he, especially while I was pregnant, she knew all like the nitty gritty details. She knew that he was like not a provider and not really taking care of his responsibilities as a dad. She knew all this. She seen it. She witnessed it. She was helping me fight it. Fast forward, I got pregnant with my second child. I was in another relationship by then. You know, I had been left my baby daddy, and I was pregnant with my second child. And we were still close. Like, we would still talk even up. We would still talk to the point where we were having conversation about planning my gender reveal for my second child. So she had gotten pregnant again with her third child, still living under her mother's roof with the same baby daddy that she claimed abused her, wasn't a provider, was a piece of shit. She told me that she actually planned this third child, that they planned the third child after she bashed her baby daddy. Cool. No judgment here. You know what I'm saying? But I did tell her, like, girl, like, you don't have to do this. Like, you can't even sustain yourself. Like, you literally live in your mom's roof. Like, your mom's not livid right now. But she decided to keep the baby, and listen, babies are a blessing. So now this girl has 3 kids in her mom's roof, and I'm kind of like, damn, bitch, like, you know, it's time to get your life together, because this ain't it. But I don't say anything to anybody. I keep my thoughts to myself, because she's already pregnant. What the fuck? I'm gonna make her feel bad? Like, no, it's my friend. I'm not saying nothing. So as we're talking about my gender reveal, the conversation kind of died out, and I'm pretty sure she got busy. She has a newborn. Newborn, I believe, is from the month of like born to like 3 months, I would say. So the baby was still a newborn phase. She messages me out of the blue and says, I need to tell you something. I don't remember like the specific wording, but that. She goes, me and so are going to pursue a relationship. I just wanted to tell you. That so was my baby father. The same baby father that fucked me over, doesn't handle his responsibilities as a father, $4,000 back in child support, crazy family, crazy situation, my best friend getting in a relationship with a newborn. So I sat there for a minute because I swear I thought she was joking. I mean, girl, you just had a baby, a third one, living in your mom's house. That means you were just having sex with your baby daddy. You were just with your baby daddy. What am I missing? So I tell my boyfriend at the time, like, yo, like, this bitch playing. Because there's no way. Like, there's no way that made sense. Like, girl, you doing too much. Like, you're funny. No. She was dead ass. And I never heard from her again after that, by the way. So I'm like confused because I'm like, where is this coming from? How long? You just had a baby. You were just still having sex with your baby daddy, like very recently. Like I'm talking about after the baby was born. When did you have time to, after just having a baby and just being with your baby daddy, date mine? Also, why would you ever want to date somebody who had a child with your best friend? Hello? And me crashing out had nothing to do with the man. Like, I did send her a message and it just had nothing to do with the man. Like, I moved on already. I was already in another relationship, having another baby. It's the principle of, you're my friend. What are you doing? Hello? Are you okay? Are you, like, is this a joke? Like, where's Ashton Kutcher? So I call my baby daddy and I'm like, you know why I'm calling you, right? And he's like, why? And I go, well, I got a message from my best friend saying this. Is this what's going on? And he goes, yeah. And I'm like, and that makes sense to you? And he's like, well, and I'm like, so if your guy best friend decided to start having a relationship with me, that would make sense. He goes, well, if that happened to me, I wouldn't be friends with that person. So it's not a red flag to you that your baby mama's best friend wants to be with you and you don't see that as a red flag as a person. Like fuck what she did to me or how it affected me in her relationship. You don't see her as being a grimy person in general. If you're saying you wouldn't be friends with somebody that does that, then what makes you want to date somebody who does that? But I digress because, okay, that's what y'all choose. Whatever. Y'all are both weird as fuck. And this whole situation is weird. Everything he ever said about me negative, that made me a horrible person and a horrible mother, which never been me. But he was so bitter that he curated this whole narrative of me when, whatever. Everything he ever said about me that was negative applies to her, like in her behavior, but yet it's excusable for her to do it and for her to be like that. But when I did it, I was a bad mom. I was hurt. I was fucking hurt and confused, and I was pregnant, so obviously my hormones. So my baby daddy's sister-in-law, which also happens to be one of my old best friends who started dating and ended up marrying his twin brother, but we're gonna clock that tea another time. She told me that it was my hormones making me act that way, that I shouldn't overreact. And oh, girl, what? You see how I'm constantly gaslit? Like, I can't make this shit up. So the sister-in-law's on the phone with me. She is making me seem like I am nuts. Like this is not abnormal. Like, she made a comment that it's like, oh, you can't, people can't control like who they like you can't control what people do. I can absolutely control not falling in love and fucking with my friends, exes, baby daddies. Definitely have control over that. That was definitely a choice. But she gaslit me so hard, made it seem like, oh, like, you're just hormonal. Girl, even if I didn't have a baby, this would be like, this is just not normal. Like, I asked her, I asked sister-in-law, like, if your best friend did this to you, oh, I would be her. What is wrong with you people? Like, am I crazy? Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm seeing stuff that other people aren't seeing. So I hang up the phone with her because she was just, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I couldn't believe that everybody was making me the crazy one, that this just came out. So I left that alone with her because I wasn't trying to curse her out. Like, real talk, I wasn't trying to curse her out. And I was already going through a lot of shit when I was pregnant. So it wasn't giving. So I definitely sent my ex-best friend a few paragraphs, and of course she ignored them because she's scary and can't, face the shit that she does. And so of course I called one of my other friends because I was whatever. And you know what everybody that talked to me about this says? You're surprised? Yeah, what do you mean? Of course I'm surprised. What? Like, this is not left field? And everybody that I talked to from our school said, the fact that you're surprised and you didn't see that obviously she would have done this to you, she's been grimy. How do you not see that? Do you guys not see a pattern in how I am constantly allowing grimy people in my life and not seeing, like, having no discernment, no judgment, like, not seeing it? Now you can see, like, I was not picking friends right, obviously. Like, I was not doing well at that. So then people started pointing out, like, all the fucked up shit she would do. And I'm like, well, yeah, that doesn't make, like, I'm starting to really think about it. Like, well, damn, yeah, that's fucked up. Or, yeah, and people started coming forward with their stories and their experience with her. And I'm like, now to think of it, like, yeah, that didn't make sense. Like, yeah, Like, yeah. Like, then you start realizing, like, holy shit, bitch been, like, a grimy bitch. And then I started to realize, like, oh my God, like, how did I not see it? You know what's even crazier? The 4th of July prior, my baby daddy and I were maybe possibly working on reconciling. That shit lasted a week because I realized he was still, like, an immature non-provider. But we went, while she was pregnant with her third child, we went together to her 4th of July barbecue. And she was with her baby daddy and I was with mine. And now everybody's making me think, how long was this going on? Apparently it was going on, like, while she was pregnant. That's allegedly. So now I feel betrayed. I feel I'm raging. I'm pregnant. I'm pissed. So I'm on the phone with my other friends and they're like, oh, like, none of us are surprised. Like, the whole anybody I went to high school with, they had stories for, like, all the grimy shit she's done to them. They're like, she's been doing this shit. Then her baby daddy was pissed because what she started to do was, immediately when she started dating my baby daddy exclusively, making him the dad. She made her kids call my baby daddy dad and called their biological father, like, that's not their dad. Like, she would tell them, that's not your father, like, this man is. And he became her kid's dad, like, very quickly. And then it came out that she was actually pregnant. So she had a baby, a newborn, and then now she's pregnant with my son's father. Everything moved so fast. And all I kept thinking was, I wonder how his family feels about this, because for such a Christian, godly family, there's no way, at least I had faith in his mother. I did. I have faith in his mother, and I would tell my family, because my family's like, oh, I knew his family was trash. No, I was like, no, I'm pretty sure his mom is definitely telling him about himself. No, they all definitely were oddly really liking this girl for a lot. And it's so funny because all the things they condemn me for, she does the same exact things. That's when I learned, like, people just it's just because it's you. just because it's you. And I was so shocked his family was co-signing this, that the pastor and the bishop, they were heavily involved in church, that the pastor and the bishop were co-signing this and were eating this up, but like the pastor bishop had a problem with me. And I was like so confused. First of all, as a mother, when I look at that situation, if that was my son, I would be like, you know what? I support you. Like, you know, you make your own decisions. But to me, that doesn't sit right. Why would your baby mama's best friend want to date you? That's grimy. Like, I wouldn't trust a bitch like that. I would tell my son that because I would keep it real. Then all of a sudden, she found Jesus. She started going to their weird ass church, like being like a Bible thumper, posting Bible quotes. I swear that the horrible person to Christian Bible thumper timeline needs to be studied by psychologists, because what is even that? So then I just had to eat it. And it fucking pissed me off that you're willing to lose a friend. Me and her have never had beef, never had problems. I've always had her back. You're willing to lose a friend for a man who can't even take care of his one child. What makes you think he's going to take care of your 3? So I'm thinking, like, that's so weird. Like, he's back in arrears, $4,000, the same thing she condemns her baby daddy for, because she had him on child support at one point before they got back together and had a 3rd child. He's not taking care of his responsibilities. He's not a provider. Everything that you're bashing your baby daddy for, why do you want my deadbeat baby daddy? Why do you want my broke baby daddy? I'm not understanding. And people were like, she wanted your life. And I'm like, why would you want my life? My life with him sucked. He's a fucking loser. He's a fucking pathological liar. He's a cheater. He's a bum. He's dirty. Like, the fuck? My life was ass with him. I didn't have a good life with him. What gave? She saw everything I went through. What gave I had a good life with him? What does she think? He's gonna get with her and become this mega millionaire and become this great father and this great man? Girl. Now, mind you, a lot happened in between. A lot happened after that. Like, a lot of crazy shit happened. But I want to save that series of events for another story time, because it's more serious story time. But just know that after they got together and all this stuff happened, she started helping him and his family come after me. She started testifying in court against me for him. She started making up shit and lying. Like, she started actually becoming my enemy, which she already was. I mean, no real friend would do what she did. But yeah, she started going, like, she started helping them attack me and come after me. They lost, and the court called her out for lying, and him. She didn't get away with it. But she deadass became my op over a man who can't give her nothing. And that was in 2022. It's 2025. So she has 3 kids. They had the 4th one. So now they have 4 kids still living in her mother's house. He has not put a roof over their head. He has not done anything substantial to provide for her. He actually owes me $11,000 that's on his arrears. He can barely pay his full child support. My son asked him for $10. He said he couldn't give it. He coaches her son's wrestling team. Never been involved. He doesn't even know our son's teacher's name.
Am I in the wrong for naming my son after me after his dad ghosted me in the hospital and tried to use me for a green card? I dated a Nigerian man for 6 months before finding out I was pregnant in January 22. The relationship fell apart quick. Cultural differences, emotional abuse, all of it. I decided early on I'd be a mom with or without him. Pregnancy was rough. Depression meds, weight loss, mentally drained. Fast forward to September, I gave birth. Out of desperation and postpartum emotions, I reached out offering a DNA test and told him that he could even name the baby. No response, calls, texts, voicemails, nothing. After 3 days in the hospital, I named my son myself. I still gave him one name his dad mentioned, but used my last name. Didn't know if the dude was ever coming back, and I wasn't naming my baby after a ghost. 3 months later, he shows up, gets the DNA test, we reconcile briefly. His work visa expires, and he convinces me to marry him, claiming it'll extend his visa so he can provide for us. Promised couples therapy, family vacations, all the good stuff. What he didn't say was that I'd be applying for his citizenship. I felt played, like I'd been set up to get him a green card and possibly take my baby. I spiraled, got therapy, we broke up. Yes, I was wild too. Don't ask. The answer is probably yes. I moved back in with my mom, kept things cordial, sent him pics of the baby, nothing major. Then, on my son's first birthday, September 23, I got served with a protective order out of nowhere. Shook me, not gonna lie. No contact for months. He misses both birthdays, but he sends $400 a month. Cool. I was prepared to be a single mom. Here's the issue. Now, 2025, he's demanding I change my son's name and middle name to his tribal names. Claims it's about some inheritance in Nigeria. I told him that I'd think about it if he could consistently show up for his son. Said this back in November 2024. He just popped up last weekend after months and is still making demands. Am I in the wrong for telling him no? My son's got my name.